Well, I just finished my first starter game, my practice game. And, oops, I have to learn more about how all the different tiles work. Some things made a lot of sense and they happened often enough that I could just get used to it and figure it out pretty easily. But some things like playing cards, can I keep this card permanently as part of my character? As far as I know, these ones like asset cards, I'm not sure if you can just make them a permanent part of your character or if they're single use only. And then there are also cards called event cards. Like this one, event card. Now I think you use this card and after you play it you discard it and you can't use it again. It's out of your deck completely, it's not shuffled back in. But asset cards might just be a permanent part of your character. And then skill cards stay in your hand. They don't get placed on the table, but you can use them at the appropriate moment. And then I think skill cards will be discarded after one use. So I've got to sort out. So I think if you spend the number of points needed to activate the card, you can add it to your character, and then it will either automatically trigger when you need it, or it will trigger at a cost. And in that case, for example, this gun is an asset card. I think this permanently becomes part of your character. But after you use the 4 ammo, does it come with the 4 ammo automatically? Do you have to pay again, pay the 3 points again to reload this gun? I've got to figure that out. So I won the game. I cleared the scenario with this character. It was tough because I found out he's not very good at investigating. If I'd played with 2 characters, one more skilled at investigating but maybe weaker physically, and another like this character who has more physical bonuses for fighting. But there weren't that many enemies to fight. Maybe I got lucky with my card draws. But I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes. You know, that's why you have to run through it a few times until you get used to it. I remember the first time I played Monopoly, the first time I played Risk, the first time I played Scrabble, any game. You know, there are rules and you don't know if what you're doing is right or not. There are a lot of games where I played it one way, my friends played it a different way. We had to go through the rule book and find out who was right. Maybe we were both wrong. And we had to, sometimes you make house rules where you just change what's in the rule book for your particular style of play. And as long as all of the people know the house rules, it's fair to use house rules in a game, a tabletop game, a board game. And the more you play it, the easier it is because the rules don't change. Now, there's one card, not card, but a tile. So these determine if you pass or fail skill tests. For example, this says -4. So that's a -4 to your abilities. So when you do that skill test, you get a penalty. And other cards might be -3 or -2 or for example this one 0. So then your abilities are unaffected. But this one, this skull, I looked at the reference card for the level I was playing, and it says -X. X is the number of ghoul enemies at your location. So I couldn't understand it. I wasn't sure what it meant because there were no ghouls at my location, but that just means 0. So X equals 0, so -0, so there's no penalty at all. If there was one ghoul, I'd get -1. If there were 2 ghouls, I'd get -2. Then it made sense. So I just ignored it, which was fine, actually, because I didn't have any monsters at my location. I didn't spawn a lot of monsters at all. Another card. There are 2 other special cards in here that you might draw. They're fairly rare to get. One is this kind of tentacles card. This means automatic fail. You automatically fail. And this one is called an elder card. It's like a elder token, chaos token. It's like a star. And star depends on your character. For example, the character I played, star means you get +1 for whatever you're doing per clue that's left in the location you're at. So there are 2 clues you haven't found, you get +1 per clue. So that's not a bad one to get. That just increases your bonus. Another one is this dude. And there's one more type of card. I keep saying card. I should just say tile. Okay. Now this guy, it's like a face with a hood up, like he's wearing a hoodie. This one means if you fail your skill check, so this gives you -1 to whatever your skill number is. And if you fail, you get +1 horror, which is this brain tile. And my character had 5 horror points. So if I get 5, my character is crazy and he's out of the game. And also he has 9 hearts, which means 9 health points. If he gets 9 health damage, he's out of the game. And then those players can return later, but depending on the horror and health damage they got, if they're removed from the game for if they're defeated because they lost their health points, then if they continue in the campaign, they have a permanent -1 to their health score. If they're removed because of insanity, going crazy, they've got a permanent -1 to their brain point. Then there's this one, which looks like some kind of broken shield. And this means if there is a ghoul enemy at your location, you take 1 damage, and this is a -2. So this is a -2 for your attack, plus a -1 physical damage if there's a ghoul there. So now I know what these different tiles mean. I didn't have any ghouls at any of my locations, so it didn't matter. And I kind of ignored these, but in the end it wouldn't have changed the results. But I've got cards all over my table here. I've got tokens all over my table. I've got to pack all this up and reset it for another game I want to play. And I want to try using a different character and see if it's easier or harder with that character. So it is tough. I'd be curious to play with a second person. This bag is basically your dice. You can also build cards, but there are certain rules. So if I build a deck, the deck has to have 30 cards, and there have to be a certain number of cards of each type in the deck. And I guess that's the same as playing Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon. I've never played those, but you can build your own custom deck, or you can use the starter decks that the box set recommends. So that's me talking about Arkham Horror, the game, the card game. I actually started getting a little bit tense. I was at the second stage of the bad guys round, and if you get 7 Doom tokens, I don't know if I can show this correctly. If you get 7 Doom tokens, it advances to the final step. I got 6 Doom tokens. because my guy was dumb and he wasn't very good at investigating things. So as a result of that, I had to just use my turns. You get 3 actions per turn. So I'd use my actions to draw more cards from my deck, hoping to get some help. And I got the... where did I put it? I got the flashlight, which lowers the search difficulty by 2. But I'm not sure if I used the flashlight correctly. I might have used it incorrectly and not spent the right amount of points to use it. I got this guy who gives you a +1 to your investigation. But can I use him multiple times? Or if I use him once in a turn, is he exhausted? You know, I can use him 1 action per turn, then he's exhausted. I also got this one, Hyper Awareness, this card, which also you can spend a resource and you get +1 for your investigation skill. So I use these two to give me 2 extra points, and I used the flashlight to reduce the difficulty by 2, which really helped. But am I allowed to do that, you know, each of my actions in 1 turn? So 3 actions in 1 turn. Or could I use those cards once and then I have to exhaust them? So they'd be permanently in my hand, but if you exhaust a card, you have to turn it this way so that you can't keep using it until you recover. So I won, but I think I did things the wrong way, and maybe that wasn't a real victory. But after you finish the scenario, there are other scenarios you can kind of graduate onto and continue the campaign. So there's a longer story, and you uncover allies, or you learn more about the world and the dangers, which help you going into the next step. So I played Dungeons and Dragons way back in the 1980s. So I understand, you know, about campaigns and scenarios. I played lots of, you know, choose your own adventure books, choose your own ending, choose your own adventure books, which are quite fun because you can read them a lot of times and keep going different paths. And of course, video games that have multiple endings and different paths, different branches. So you might do something here and close off this branch, or do something here and open up this branch, or do the wrong thing here so this person doesn't help you later. So there's a lot of replay value in those type of video games. So even though the end goal will be the same, it is randomized a little bit by this, and also by the cards you draw, you know, what help you can get and what problems you face. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm gonna play it again, probably not tonight, because I want to watch a couple more tutorial videos on YouTube so I understand better some of the nuances of how to play this game. So if you're not interested in these kind of games, you know, you probably didn't watch this far into the video, but 2019, I think it was 2019, it might have been 2017, but one of those times when I visited Canada, it might have been 2019, but I'm not sure. But anyway, my niece Darlan brought Settlers of Qatar? I forget what it's called. Maybe Settlers of Catan. But you know, that was my first time playing it. It was really fun. And then this last year, 2023 in June, I went to Canada, and that was 4 years later. And she came over to my sister Liana's place, and she brought lots of table games, card games, wordplay games, and those things. And I think she's got even more at home. So I like playing these kind of physical tabletop games with people. And now you can do it online. You can play D&D, online with people. If you can find a good group, you just have to organize a schedule so you can meet regularly. In my closet, I've got Scrabble, I've got Taboo, I've got Risk, and I've got Cribbage, and it's been literally over 20 years since I had people in Japan that I could play with. There used to be a group of people who would often play these games together, but people didn't stay in Japan as long as I did. They'd stay 2 years, 3 years, then they'd leave, or they'd, get married to a Japanese person and, change their occupation or their workplace, and I would just never see them again. And you can't play these games alone. So, I'd like to find some people to play with, but play physically in the same place, not online. And there's other types of puzzles and mystery games. There's Hunt a Killer, which you can do by yourself if you want to pay for the big box set. But it's quite expensive, and it's kind of once and you're done. There's no replay value to it. So this one, yeah, I'm glad I bought it, and it really made me think I need a bigger table. But, I do have a bigger table. So maybe I'll play there next time. But if there are any games you like or any games you want to recommend that I try, let me know. Back when I was growing up, we had so many board games. This is before we had cable TV. We had 2 channels. Sometimes there was a 3rd channel, I think, if the weather was right and you twisted the rabbit ears, that little antenna the right way, you could pick up a 3rd channel. But those channels stopped around like 11 or 12 at night. There's nothing on after that. I'm a bit of a night owl. And there were no, VCRs. You couldn't record a show and watch it later. You couldn't rent a movie. We had a movie theater in my hometown, but it was only open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at night. The rest of the week, there were no movies to watch. And Saturdays and Sundays, especially in the summer, sun comes up like around 4 a.m., goes down like 9:30 p.m. That's a long day. You can really do a lot when you're a kid. But you run out of things to do. So playing card games, playing board games. Yeah, I think there's been a comeback in board games. Meeting people physically, sitting down around a table, playing board games. Too many people sit on their phone, or they do things online, or they'll play like Farmville and just tap their screen and grow vegetables and things like that. How is that actually... It can be rewarding. I'll admit I've played games similar to that before, but it's more fun to sit down with some friends and just whip out a board game and play it. And we had so many. We had a very cheap version of Crokinole, and I've seen real Crokinole on YouTube. There's a channel called Shut Up and Sit Down. I think that is called Shut Up and Sit Down. And they've got a great review of how to play Crokinole, so I'd love to play that again. Yeah, lots of stuff. Lots of cool board games, cool card games, and lots of mysterious games. There is a smartphone game, I forget what it's called, but it's a silent game. You just follow the instructions and text people each other, and the story progresses, and you figure out what happened to somebody. But, I don't know people, especially in Japan, who'd be interested in playing that and, getting ready for that. But, yeah, I'd like to play some games. I know 2 girls, they're sisters, and I was their teacher for a long time. And their uncle has a room full of board games. And whenever they go to their grandparents' house, I think their uncle lives with their grandparents or lives nearby, they always go into that room and play board games they've never played before. And they would tell me about those games. Hi Yuri, hi Saki. And I thought that's great because there are lots of board games, and their uncle just has a huge collection of them. And I'd like to do that. I'd like to have just a big collection of board games. There are lots. And it's just a nice way to spend an evening. If you drink, have some wine, have some conversation, play a board game. Don't get too serious. Doesn't matter who wins or loses. You're just spending time with your friends. Watching TV is fun. Renting a movie and watching Netflix, that's all fun too. But it's not very conversational because you're watching it. And then, as I mentioned before, sitting by yourself with your smartphone and tapping away at a game. There are opportunities when you can spend time with people. And sometimes those opportunities end. And I think you can't really build fulfilling memories sitting by yourself tapping on a smartphone with no other human involved. But you can build fulfilling memories interacting with other people in a real way. And these kind of games is a way to do that. Of course, I played it by myself, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but I'd love to play this with someone else. Just got to find a play partner who wants to give it a try. But first, I've got to figure it out because I'll have to teach them unless they already know. But I'll stop this video for now. Thank you for watching. And I might try to record a game or part of a game. This one took a long time. I'm sure it'll get faster once I know how to play it more, once I get used to it. But yeah, that was my first experience with Arkham Horror, the card game. Talk to you again soon. Bye.